I'd like to call the meeting to order and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Innu, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. This morning, I will be chairing the hearing. My name is Robert Hutchings. I'm joined on the panel by Bill Moretsky and Kent Seelan. Our assessor representing the Assessment and Taxation Department, City of Winnipeg, is Matthew Harling, and our administrative secretary today is Janwinder Kumar. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Board of Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by this Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the Board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with this Board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questioning by the applicant, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the Board will deliberate in private and make its decisions based on the evidence presented here today. You will receive the Board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. Today, we will be hearing, items number 2, 5, 6, 7, and 8 on our docket today. Mr. Kumar, can you please affirm the assessor and the applicant from file number 2 at 131 Cordite Road before we proceed? Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Matthew Harling.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. So, you can please stand up. State your full name.
Jeremy Braun.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Please state.
Thank you. Okay. Good morning, Mr. Braun.
Morning.
The first property on the docket we're dealing with is item number 2, file number 22-510. We're dealing with a 2023 Realty Assessment Appeal, and it's 131 Cordite Road. Mr. Harling, when you are ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The roll number is 0400634100. The address is 131 Cordite Road, and the owner is 404-7941 Manitoba Limited. The 2023 assessment, based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021, is assessed at $1,101,000. Just some property description information about the property. The effective year built of the building would be 1980. The wall heights range from 15 feet to 19 feet. 15 feet would be the office, 19 would be the warehouse space. The land area is 33,392 square feet with a leasable area of 12,050 square feet, which gives us a land to plan area of 2.77. Go to page 2 of my brief. You'll just see some information that the request for income information had been received. So there's no issues with that. The last time this property sold was in 2003. And there's currently the subject property lease that is in place. Lease started January 1st, 2018. It's on a five-year term lease and is a net rent of $6.03 a square foot. Page 3 of my brief is just some of my rent comparables. My comparables rent in range in area of 8,000 square feet to 16,915 square feet. The wall heights range from 14 feet to 26 feet. The ages of the buildings range from 1956 to 1981. And the rents, net rents range from $6.05 a square foot to $7.05 a square foot. With the lease terms ranging from roughly 5 to 10 years. And then you can see, if you see the corner, you'll see the address of the locations of my land sale comparables. If we go to page 4 of my brief, you'll just see a workup of the income valuation of how we derive the assessment. So we're using, again, a leasable area of 12,050 square feet, multiplied by the rent, model rent at $6 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of $72,300. We're applying a 3% for vacancy loss, which gives us the effective gross income of $70,131. We're then applying a 3% for expenses and $3.85 per square foot for the shortfall to cover the cost of vacancy. This gives us an overall net operating income of $66,635. And we are applying a capitalization rate of 6.05%, which gives us an overall estimated market value of $1,100,000. Page 5 of my brief is just another breakdown of the income valuation summary. If we go to page 6 of my brief, you'll just see some information regarding our cap rates. If you look under the industrial section, you'll just kind of see the range. If you look under the city of Winnipeg, you'll see the cap rates. Majority of the cap rates for properties within the city of Winnipeg will fall within a range of 5.5 to 7.45%, or within the 20th to 80th percentile. So cap rates will typically fall within that range. And if you look further to the left, you'll just see some other posted cap rates from other Colliers, CRBE, Cushman & Wakefield, and just showing where the cap rates fall. So the cap rates, our cap rate falls within the range they've indicated there as well. So. Page 7 of the brief is just information about the municipal assessment back reserves. Next, if we go to page 8 of my brief, we'll just see some photos of the subject property on Cordite Road. Unfortunately, I should have maybe given an overall bigger picture, but Cordite Road is be located close to Lagimodiere Boulevard. However, they don't have access off of Lagimodiere Boulevard. The way to get access to Cordite Road would be have to go down Grassy Boulevard, and then or Plessis Road coming up from north from Plessis Road. However, it doesn't have the best access in terms of coming off Lagimodiere. So I just want to kind of give a an overall picture of how it's located. Also, it's kind of hard to tell in the pictures, but I'd just like to note that the roads, these aren't paved roads; they are gravel roads, so they don't have concrete or paved roads. Just to give an idea of the property. So anyways, again, just some photos of the subject property. It's an overhead property. Page 9 of my brief, you'll just see some, again, further photos of the subject property. The further back of the building would be where the warehouse portion is, and the front would be more the office space. And page 10 of my brief is just a parcel boundary, just to show the overall boundary of the subject property and just the current assessment we have at $1,110,000. Page 11 of my brief just shows, again, just the subject property map and just an outline of the subject property and its relation on Cordite Road. And page 12 and 13 of my brief are just the just to show that the income expense mailer was was sent by the property owner, and just to show that we've received the income information from that property, from the property. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Matthew, you cut out there at the last.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. That's the end of my presentation. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Mr. Braun, do you have any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor? You have an opportunity in a couple of minutes to make your own presentation, but any questions of the evidence presented by the assessor so far?
Not really, no.
Okay, thank you. Bill, any questions?
Yes, the net rent per square foot figures that you're using, first of all, for the subject property on page 2. So what would net rent constitute? Would that be the gross rent minus what?
Would be like the gross rent minus like if there's any recoverables, for example. So that's would be how we would determine the net rent. So we take the gross rent and then we remove any expenses, I should say, as well. And then that's how we would determine the net rent. So
Okay, so expenses are out too for net rent.
yes, in this case, yes.
Okay. And that's the same for your rent comparables too. Is that the same?
Yes, these are all net rents. Yes, so it would be the same. Yes, the same situation. Yes, we net all our rents out to make sure they're
Comparing apples to apples there. And then on page 8, reference page 8 on your pictures there. So the property or the buildings that we're concerned with in this are just within these orange boundaries here.
correct. Yes. That's the property the parcel outline. Outline. Yeah.
Outline. So that I guess that you would call that a Quonset barn over to the right lower corner.
Yeah, below it. Yeah, that would be a separate property. That's not part of this. That's
Okay. Property. Okay. Okay, that's it for my questions.
Thanks, Bill. Kent, any questions of the assessor?
No, Mr. Chair, no questions.
Thank you. And I am good also. Mr. Braun. Mr. Braun, bear with us 1 second while we get up. I believe you've submitted a document. And okay. Does everybody have the document in front of them?
yes.
Kent, Bill, you're okay?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Braun, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the board for hearing me today. Matthew, for taking the time. We had a chance to speak a few times. I think what's unique about the facts of what you presented all make sense. And if I was going to the bank for financing, this would be a great assessment to use. But I think what is unique about this is that it's Cordite Road, and I've only done this once where I've gone and had this opportunity taken the opportunity to speak about this. I've negotiated with the assessors in prior years. Last year, I think we got the property reduced back to its original sort of price from 2 years earlier, I think it was.
Yeah.
My contention this year is that Cordite Road is unique, and every time I've talked to an assessor, they've said, "Oh, Cordite, yeah, I understand." When they understand the area, the road is actually terrible. There are times in the spring and in the fall where there's literally one lane. The city doesn't take care of it. I shouldn't say they don't take care of it. They don't take care of it to the degree that the people that live on that road or that operate on that road would like it to be taken care of. It is what it is. I had my business there for almost 20 years before we closed, and now I'm leasing that building out. And it's always been the same. It's the one thing that my staff always hated about coming to work was that particular area, that road. Not to mention the services that there's not really any main services that we get there. So it's like the city is not really valuing the road enough to take care of it, yet they want to, sort of assess us with the normal increases that the rest of the city experiences. So even when I look at your cap rates, I would say, great, if I was going for financing, I'd like to use the 605, but I doubt that I would get that. My tenant in there, I'm trying to renegotiate for another 5-year lease. And part of what I sent you was just, I wanted you to see comments that they made, because it's basically what they're saying is that any comparables, even that my real estate agents had, they said, this area has got to be 20% less than what those comparables would be. The road, the access, the fact that the city's not taking care of it, the fact that there's less services, the fact that there are now times of the day where they're not allowing left turn onto the parallel road to Lagimodier, which eventually turns into Cordite. These are all issues to deal with. So there's that, the age of the building, and then there's the actual building itself, which, obviously your pictures are sort of a macro top view. I think I sent some for you guys to review. That just there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that building. I wasn't really aware. When we were there in our front offices, the accountant always kind of turned his table a certain way because he would roll to the left or to the right based on that floor. It was very minor. But when I've gone in there in the last, again, as we've been trying to negotiate new rents, these guys have said, you got to get this floor fixed because it's terrible. And it's literally dropped 1.5 to 2 inches on the entire front area. My loading dock needs to be redone. The walls are caving in and have released from the building on the side that where the, I guess, east wall attaches to the building. Got some work to do on some leaks and so the general condition of the building, it's old and it needs work. And then there's the comparables of the other buildings on the street. And, like we report our rents to you guys like we're supposed to. But I know when I ran a business, I owned the building through my number company. And we would always charge ourselves less rent because it's, you make the money in your corporation, you pay less tax than when you make it on a passive real estate income, right? So I can imagine these guys are reporting less rents that are beside us. They're properties that are, 130,000 square feet versus our 33,000 and their assessment.
Mr. Braun, as I explained in the preamble, we're not going to compare assessments. What we're looking for is market evidence, lease examples, right? So I believe here you're just doing comparisons of assessments. Is that right?
Well, yeah. I mean, my renters talk to their neighbors and say, anyways, if I can't bring that up as evidence, then I don't see why not. It seems strange to me, but.
Well, in the information presented to your when you applied for the Board of Revision appeal, and also in the preamble, and probably speaking with the assessor, it's stated over and over again that assessment comparisons are not evidence of market value, that leases in this case would be evidence of market value. So I see what you're stating here. We'll certainly review it and just how much weight we're going to put in it.
I apologize. I'll leave that alone. The final comment that I'll just make is that the comparables, even on rents, there's no comparables of our street. And I think that's what you guys need to know. I mean, you're not going to take a drive down there, but it's not in your purview. Well, but the comparisons that we're seeing, I get it. Comparable buildings, comparable area, but not where we are, not the street, not these services, not the condition.
Okay. We understand where your concerns are with the road and everything. The assessor has presented, you see the assessor went out of the area, I believe, and came up with net leases to, in this case, defend the assessed value. So, anyway, that's we'll certainly review what you've told us or presented here, I guess, and we understand the concerns with the deterioration of the road and apparently the physical structure Anything else you'd like to tell us?
I think I've said what I need to say, yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
And you appreciate it, guys.
No, we're going to have questions by the assessor first and then the panel members. Matthew, any questions of the appellant?
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay. Kent, any questions of the appellant?
Have you done any work to figure out what it costs to repair all these issues you have with the ability to the property?
I am in the process of doing that now. I just got drawings done for the loading dock because I'm gonna have to tear it right out. I don't have a quote on it yet. So I've got a quote on fixing the ceiling in the office area. It's depending on what they do, we've said we'll kind of reset it at this point. And so it was like $1,500 to do that. But if they wanted to redo some lighting and stuff at the same time, then you know, they're kind of negotiating that with me right now. So the floor itself, I have not quoted on yet. I don't know what the costs are going to be to have a Mud Ruckers or a company like that come in and do that work. So, I'm part way there, but I don't have all the answers yet.
Is there any space that's unusable at present in the actual facility? Is there any space you can't use physically? Or is it all being used by your tenant?
I would say they're using it.
Totally. Okay. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Kent. Bill, any questions?
So the current tenants are paying $6.03 a square foot.
I think that was the average over because the rent graduated. So it started off less and then it went more by the end of the 5 years. But I think that sounds close. Yeah.
Okay. That figure seems to be close to what the city allowed in their calculations. Do you agree with that? They were in the $6 range too.
The ones that he mentioned.
Well, in their
report.
For their assessment.
Yeah.
It was. So are you okay with that? With the rent that they allowed for this property? And it's just a condition of the property itself or the sale is that you're concerned about?
I guess I'm okay with it. My challenge is that my tenant wants a 20% discount because of all the things that I just mentioned. So that's the challenge, is that he's not okay with it. I don't know what the market will be on the next go round in terms of if these guys decide they don't want to stay. Yeah, based on the conditions that I mentioned.
So because they've been there a while, they're continuing. That's kind of what you're saying.
Yeah. And again, they're knocking on neighbors' doors and asking these questions and coming to me and putting pressure on too, right? So the things we can't talk about.
Yeah. So if the rent is kind of, let's say it's, closer, it's basically the cap rate that you're mostly concerned about then, right? That the cap rate is too low. Yeah. The city is. Because of the condition of the property
And the area.
Okay, got that. So I saw some on one page here, some figures that kind of jumped with 800 to 850 range. Is that what you feel it should be, the market value of it?
I think that sort of reflects the 20% that we're talking about.
Okay, no further questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Mr. Braun, when does the lease expire, the current lease?
January 31st, 2023.
January 2020. Okay. And today you don't have any verbal estimates of a total cost for repairs to the deficiencies?
I don't. My estimate is somewhere in the $100,000 range to do a new dock, to do the flooring in the front, and repair a couple of other incidentals. So, but that's my That's a pretty rough guess, guys.
Okay, okay. And what value were you looking at? What are you asking the board to reduce it to?
850.
850,000? Okay. To reflect all the physical and access issues that you're experiencing at the property. Would that be fair?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Okay. That is all my questions. Leave it with us, sir, and I thank you for appearing, and we'll consider all the evidence presented, and you'll hear from us as soon as possible. Thank you.
Appreciate it, guys.
That concludes 131 Cordite Road.
Good day.
You too.
Thank you. Okay. Next item on the docket, I believe Mr. Rack will be joining us, I guess. Is that right, Mr. Kumar?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
That concludes 131 Cordite Road.
Mr. Lyle,
Yes,
you can turn up the YouTube, please. Or you can mute it.
hello?
Mr. Lyle,
Yes,
okay. State your full name, please.
Lyle Albert Rack.
Thank you. Do you affirm that the evidence you are about to give at this hearing is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kumar. Good morning, Mr. Rack.
Morning.
You'll be joining us just by telephone, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. The item we're dealing with, first one, I believe you got 4 on the docket today, is item number 5, file number 22-411. And the address is 66 King Street. And just bear with us 1 second, Matthew, until we get to your submission for that property, please. Okay. Okay. Kent, Bill, do you all have the document?
Yeah.
Is that brief? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank
Matthew, when you are ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The roll number is 1306-093-8000. The address is 66 King Street, and the owner is 66 King Inc. The 2023 assessed value based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $1,221,000. Some of the property details of the property. The effective year built of the property is 1909. The wall heights are 10 feet. The land area is 6,578 square feet, with a leasable area of 37,800 square feet, to give us a land to plant area of 1.11. Page 2 of my brief just shows some information that the property owner's request for income information were received. Further below that, just showing some subject sale history. Last time this property sold was in 2010. And there are no current subject property leases in place. Page 3 of my brief just shows some of my rent comparables. The comparables range in the area of 2,389 square feet to 16,676 square feet. The wall heights range from 11 feet to 13 feet. And the effective year built range from 1905 to 1911. And the overall net rents range from $4.06 a square foot to $11.42 a square foot. And if you look at the addresses, you'll just see that the locations. The subject property is located in the exchange area of the city. So these are all located in the similar areas of the city as the exchange area. Page 4 of my brief, you'll just see a breakdown of the income valuation. This particular property, there are multiple, there's 6 floors to this building. So we have multiple premises, as you can see, why we have the premises broken down in different areas. The overall model rent we are applying, our blended rent would be $4.14 a square foot. Based on when you include the lease layer in that, you get a potential rent of 156,654. We're applying a 12.5% for vacancy, which gives us effective gross income of 137,072. We're allowing 3% for expenses and $3.85 per square foot for shortfall, which gives us a net operating income of 114,768. We're also applying a overall capitalization rate of 9.4%, which gives us an estimated market value of $1,221,000. Page 5 of my brief, you'll again to see some the income valuation summary. Page 6 of the brief is just showing some information regarding cap rates. This cap rate is a bit higher on the higher end because it is an older building. It does have some issues, so henceforth why you have the higher cap. So there's not a lot of cap rates within that range, but again, older properties will, and properties with issues and older properties will generate a higher cap rate typically. So page 7 of my brief is just the municipal assessment accurate reserves. Now page 8 of my brief, you'll just see some photos of the subject property. Again, it's pretty congested around here, but you can kind of see where the building is. If you look below, you'll see what 66 is. And then further to the left at the bottom, you'll see that's one of the entrances on King Street. One of the tenants, or the one tenant that is occupying the space, is on closer to McDermott Avenue. That's how you get access to the first one. First, I guess that one should be in it. Page 9 of my brief, again, you'll just see another photo of the subject property, just another angle, just to kind of show the building itself. Page 10 of my brief, you'll just see a floor plan of the, this would be unit 1. So just because it's just going to show the overall layout of the floor plan, the current tenant that is in there. This is facing 286 McDermott Avenue, this particular unit, if you see the stairs coming out. Page 11 of my brief is just, again, it's just showing the parcel boundary of the subject property and the current assessed value at $1,221,000. Page 12 of my brief, you just kind of get more of an overview of the subject property, where it's located on King Street, and then you'll just see McDermott Avenue on the other area, just so you can kind of see where it's situated within the exchange. And page 13 of my brief, you'll just see some information regarding the economic expense mailer that the property owner has provided us. This continues to page 12, 16. Currently, there are, if you look at page 16, you'll just see the actual, the current tenants that are in the space. You'll see that there's just the one tenant in there, whereas the rest of the space is currently vacant, units 2 through 6. So there's just the one unit and tenant in the first floor of the building. And then page 17 just shows some information regarding the capital cost summaries and their rent income loss. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Mr. Rack, any questions on the evidence presented by the assessor in his brief?
Just one question, Mr. Chairman. You can see on page 10, there's a picture of the floor plan. Mr. Assessor, would you agree that basically the primary use of this building is office space at the present time?
Well, unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to inspect the property, so I can't say for certain, but because I don't know what the other units entail, but I know the first floor would be more of like a commercial use. So.
Oh, that's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Kent, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Bill, any questions?
On page 1, the land area square footage is 6,578.
Oh yes, I see that. Yeah.
And the basement area is 7,289. So I'm just curious as to why the basement area would be larger than the land area.
To be honest with you, yeah, like we don't have typically when we have basement area, we'll have like a premise with the basement area. So to be honest with you, I'll have to, like I said, unfortunately, I wasn't able to inspect. I didn't have time to inspect the building, so I might have to look at that again, maybe adjust that, because yeah, that does. I won't dispute that does seem a little odd, honestly. Yeah, so I will have to review that and see why that is. So, and unfortunately, this time I'm not entirely sure why that is the case. So we may have not updated the property attributes recently in this building. So that could be a possibility why, but I will find out why. So
I can answer that question for you.
okay, yeah, or Mr. Rack may know. Yeah, so
Okay.
Back in the day when those buildings were built, it was common to have the basement actually come underneath the sidewalk because they had elevators that came up through the sidewalk to allow things to be removed from the building. So there'd be like a freight elevator, and there'd be two steel plates that opened up for removing things from the building in the basement. So it's common that those old buildings, the basement is actually bigger than the floor plate. There is if you know the Woodbine Hotel on, I think it's called the Woodbine, on Main Street, well, 460 Main Street, they still have the steel grates to actually put beer into the basement. So that's why the basements are bigger than the main floor.
Okay,
perfect.
thank you.
I wasn't sure. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rack.
No, I have one more question still. On page 4, I think I heard you say that you're using for the 156,654 potential rent, you were going to use $4 a square foot. Did I get that correctly?
$4.14. Sorry.
$4.14. Okay. And that was an average of those.
Yeah, that would be like a blended rent and taking into account all the entire area. Yes, yes.
Right.
Because there's multiple floors. Yes. So.
Okay. That's it. That's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Matthew, my question is, let's go to page 10, please. How many floors are in this building? Is it 6, 7?
I believe it's 6. If I can verify that's correct, Mr. Acker.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it looks like
6. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure. Actually, I can see the photo right here. Yeah,
okay.
sorry. So.
All right, thank you. So that picture of a floor plan on page 10 is, what floor would that be?
That would be the first floor, the main.
Okay, main floor. Okay, and that's currently leased out?
That is the one space that is leased out. Yes.
And we have. I'm sorry, I think you detailed it. What is the lease, the in-place lease on that area?
Like the actual rent, I guess you mean?
Yeah.
Or, I don't think I have actually calculated out the lease actually. I believe it's
I think page was it page 16 where they?
Yes, that is correct. That would be where the rent is. Yes. The leasable area is slightly different than what we have in ours. So the rent would be a little bit different. So I apologize. I didn't actually calculate the overall rent on that one. So
would you mind doing that for us?
let's see if I can figure that out.
Mr. Chairman, that would be a gross.
Yeah, I was going to say, you know what, it is a gross lease. That's exactly it. Yes, so it would be difficult to net it out, unfortunately.
Okay, maybe Mr. Bach will enlighten us, I'm sure, when we get through the presentation. Okay, and then the rest of the building is up for lease. Is that correct, or is it?
It is currently vacant. Yes.
It's listed as for lease, each floor, or separate offices, or.
I tried to do some searching for active leases, any advertisements. I couldn't find anything, so I believe it is up for lease. Mr. Rack.
Okay. Yeah, Mr. Rackle will fill us in, I'm sure. Okay, so your workup on page 4 shows that you have 5 premise IDs. Is that right? Yeah, that's what currently that's what you're assessing the leasable. Individual leasable areas.
Correct.
Right now in the assessment workup, right? Okay, yeah. Any idea when this was last inspected, this building? Any notes?
I apologize. I would have liked to inspect the building. Unfortunately, just time constraints, I wasn't able to. It's probably been a few years, definitely, since it's been inspected. So I guess
Mr. Rack will have information on that too. So, okay, I think that is all my questions. Thank you, Matthew. Okay. Mr. Rack, bear with us 1 second until we find your submission here, please. For 66 King Street, a 2023 Realty appeal. Okay, Mr. Rack, when you are ready, please. Has everybody got them, Kent, Bill?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
I'm ready to go. Hello?
Mr. Rack, when you're ready, please.
Okay, so page 1 is pictures of the building, which the assessor has provided. The main entrance is on the side there. So basically, go to the second page, and you'll see at the height of the pandemic, the city had a 36% increase in value, and the building was 88% vacant, as the assessor has stated. So you go to the next page, 2020. You will see that basically the net operating income was only $7,575. It's 88.27% vacant. And you'll see at the bottom there, there's only one tenant in the building. That's
Sorry, Mr. Rack, what page are you on? Where are we reading from? Sorry.
That would be page 3. The top
Okay.
is the income and expense mailer. That's provider 2.
So we're looking at page 4 now?
It's 3.
No, we're looking at
Page 3, I believe.
page 3, the income and expense mailer. At the bottom, it says the NOI is 7,575 and vacancy is 88.27%.
Sorry, I'm not seeing that. In vacancy 12.5, where's 88%?
Well, if you look at the income and expense mailer.
Okay, so I'm reading at the height of the pandemic, 30%, 36% increase in value. I assume you're comparing last cycle's assessment, is that right?
Yes, that's page 2. So you go down to the next page, which is the income and expense mailer.
Okay, now, yeah, that's page, okay, right? Says 2020, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so as you'll see at the bottom there, where it shows all the floors, as the assessor stated, there's only one tenant on the main floor and the rest of the building is vacant.
Yes.
At the very bottom there, it says, please note that floors 2 through 6 are in various states of demo from the previous tenant. So the owner's actually working on the property right now to reconfigure for renting. So it's actually in the process of getting ready to rent it again.
Okay.
They're doing multiple renovations and ripping down partitions and stuff to have it available for viewing and renting. Okay. So if you go down to the next page at the top, there's a COVID-19 supplement questionnaire, and it just asks if there was any impact in the property, and the owner stated that there's significant impact, and he made the comment that no one is looking for space at the time. So that's the problem, that they're trying to lease it out, but they're not getting any bites on the property. And you can see it's a gross lease basically for all the upper floors. And the main floor has some recovery, so that would be similar to almost a net lease. So if we go down to the next, keep going, you'll see the income and expense mailer from December 31st, 2019. At that point, there was a negative NOI of $99,599. It was 74% vacant, and the only tenant was on the 4th floor, Creative Inc. So we go down again to the next page is 2018, and that was the last time that the building was actually fully occupied. But at that time, K-Jet went bankrupt in November, and that would be floors 2 to 7. So that's basically last time it was fully occupied. And so if you keep going down to my text there, so the last time it was fully occupied for almost a year was in 2018. Presently, the property is still vacant at a rate of 88%. So it's been over 3 years. It's been vacant. At that point, the department would consider that as a chronic vacancy. So adjustments to the valuation must be made to either the cap rate or both of vacancy allowed. So no potential purchaser at that time would pay a market value to the property as if it were fully occupied. So properties are purchased for the income stream, and presently the property basically has none. So there are two properties I represent which had the same issue, and the department has adjusted vacancy to reflect that issue. One is an office building that is 50% vacant over a few years, and that's 217 McDermott. I think that this building should be classified as actually an office building since all the floors are office. And, you know, it's been an office building for an awful long time. I don't know exactly since when. But so due to that fact, when you have extreme vacancy for over 2 years, the vacancy has to be adjusted. So on the 217 McDermott, the department's using 20%. I said that the property was an OFD. It's not, but it should be classified as an OFD because that's what it's being used for an extreme amount of spring over a number of years. So floors 2 to 6 are in various stages of demo for previous tenants. So that has to be basically capital has to be spent to get that ready for tenancy. And so I'm going to maintain the department's parameters, and I'm going to adjust the vacancy and increase the cap rate to 10%. And cap rates are basically driven by the vacancy in the property. So just a slight increase on the cap rate.
Hey, Mr. Rack, Mr. Rack, where's your workup? Is there a workup that you've got in your presentation?
Well, just underneath that text, I do have the actual valuation.
Okay, so, you know, maybe next time when you make this, would you mind adding page numbers?
Yes, I apologize for that. When I sent them in, I noticed I have no page numbers. I figured it's going to drive you guys crazy.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm looking at maintained. Okay, I'm looking at potential income of 156,654. So you've used the assessors. You've accepted the assessors' numbers. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then vacancy of 20%. Is that? Am I looking at the right table here?
Yes, you are.
And a net NOI of 92,458 and a cap rate of 10% comes out at $925,000. But yet you put it. You're saying 900,000 is your request.
That's correct. I still have another couple pages to go to back that up.
Okay. Thank you. I'm just trying to follow here. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize for that, Mr. Chairman. I will definitely have page numbers next time.
Yeah. Okay.
So if we keep going down, you'll see there is a comparable sale from the Johnson report, and that was before the pandemic. So that's 5256 Albert, same age, 1903, roughly the same square footage at 37,520. It sold for $885,000. You can see there's a sold sign right in the area. It sold on March 5th, 2019 for $23.59 per square foot. I think it's a better location. It's right behind the TD building, and applying the sale price to the property, we get a property value of $892,000. So using the two methods, adjusting the vacancy and the cap rate, the value falls between $892,000 and $925,000. Again, there's various stages of demo required that are ongoing, so capital has to be invested. So I'm looking for a value of $900,000. That's my presentation.
Okay. Thank you very much. Matthew, are you ready for questioning, or you want to review?
Yeah, I think I have just a couple of quick questions. Yes. So,
okay.
So I know you had mentioned obviously, floors 2 to 6 are in various stages of demo. So like I know you kind of answered it. So basically, like obviously they're not leasing the space out now just because they're currently renovating the spaces for lease purposes, I guess, then, or for leasing in the future.
Well, they're looking to rent the space, and they can, since it's being demoed, a potential renter could come in and have, whatever renovations they want to do to the space to meet what their requirements are.
Okay. So, but like, I guess, so obviously, like, I'm just saying, like, there's no active lease listings for it or the space right now because of the fact that it's being demoed, correct, or being renovated, I should say, right? So
Yes.
okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Kent, any questions of the appellant?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Bill, any questions of the appellant?
Yeah, on page 3, something again jumped out at me. Total, on page 3, your total income there is 105,585 on the left column, and then on the right, on the center column, your total expenses 113,160. So that's actually negative 75.75. Is that correct?
No, that looks like it'd be a positive $7,575.
Because your expenses are higher than your income, though.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, you are correct. Yes, that would be a negative 75.75. Sorry.
Okay. So you have the two methods of working up kind of a proposal there. One, you used the department's information, but a different vacancy. And was it a different cap rate, or was it just the vacancy? 20%.
No, cap rate, assessor is using 9.8. I'm suggesting 10%.
So pretty close to the same. And then
Just a couple of points.
the other method with the comparable down the street, or the other one on McDermott, and you come up with a different figure, and then you blended both of them together.
I didn't blend it. I just kind of came to an estimate that, in my opinion, it'd be around 900,000.
But you based it on both methods. You said between 892 to 925. So those are the two figures from both methods, correct?
That's correct, because it's, I mean, I wasn't shooting to hit that sale price of my valuation, because basically when you apply a vacancy, even though it's 88% vacant, vacancy allowance really brings down the valuation. So, you know, typically I've seen the assessment department use up to 25% vacancy. I figured 20% is quite reasonable, and it kind of backs up the sale price at that point. You know, since other properties that the city does assess, they use 20% when there's 50% vacancy. So I was just trying to be quite reasonable in my valuation.
So those suites, those other floors are not rented out now because they're being renovated, correct? But
That's correct.
The intent of the owner is to rent them out, though.
Oh, obviously, he's losing money in the building. He's got to have them rented out. But as you, I mean, in the COVID Supplement Questionnaire, you can see that his comment was that no one is actually looking for space, even though they've, you know, they're actively looking for someone to actually come in and take over. But presently, renovations are taking place and upgrading the building and any kind of deficiencies. Anytime you renovate and get permits to renovate a building, anything that's deficient to, you know, modern codes has to be addressed. So they're basically dealing with all those factors right now, getting the space ready.
Yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is that that space is rentable under normal circumstances, correct? If it was ready.
Correct.
If it was ready, it's
Yes,
rentable. It's not like they're just leaving it because can't rent it out, right? They think it can be rented out.
Yes, they're actively looking to rent that space. I mean, it's just a matter of you know, removing partitions and things that the previous tenants have had to open it up for someone else to come in and decide what kind of space they want.
Mm-hmm. So is that normal for these types of spaces for the tenant to I guess what would be to move partitions around, like they're normally allowed to do that? and they pay for it themselves?
Well, typically, I mean, there's different ways that it would be done. I mean, right now, if you want to rent space, you have to get a ready to rent space. So you want to remove and upgrade the space so that when a new tenant comes in, they can decide what the configuration is that they desire, and it's ready to go, instead of just leaving it, and then the tenant comes in and says, well, I want it this done or that done. And then, presently it's hard to get contractors and things like that. So the first thing to do is kind of like get it ready for the new tenant, and then the new tenant could come in, and then he will make a deal with the landlord, whether or not the landlord does the renovations and then amortizes that over maybe a 5-year lease, and or the landlord kicks in some money on his own and the tenant does renovations. There can be a combinations of situations when it comes to renovating that space, or the tenant renovates it and then the owner takes less rent for it. At this point, I don't really know what's going to happen as far as the negotiations go for that space.
Okay. I'm just a little unclear still on your methodology at the end, near the end here with these two methods. It almost seems like they're the same, but they're not. One uses the comparison and then kind of uses again the condition of it.
Well, the more methodology you use, the more accurate the value is. I mean, typically speaking, anybody, if you're doing an appraisal on the building, you'd use 3 methods. You do the cost method and what the actual building costs to build, and then you depreciate it. Then you would do a market comparison, which I've done basically by using the income approach, which I use from the assessor, adding 20% vacancy for the current condition. And the last part, you do a comparison approach to comparable sales. So usually the first method isn't used with the depreciation on the cost of the building. It's not very accurate. And basically then if you have an income approach and then you have a comparable sales approach, that basically establishes a better market value. And, when you're looking at, if you come right down to it, the sales value there is probably more accurate because it's a building that's already been renovated and leased out, where the present building is not leased out. So I would say the market approach is more accurate, but, I kind of went in between the two. There's not much difference between 90, you're looking at basically, less than $30,000. So I kind of went just to the even value of $900,000 because there's only about a $27,000 difference or a $31,000 difference between one and the other. So I just kind of went in between, more towards the sale than towards the actual valuation by the income approach.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Okay, Mr. Rack. The assessor noted a sale in 2010 of $1,095,000. Any knowledge of that sale? Was it open market or is it the present owner?
I didn't examine that sale. No, I don't know.
Matthew, any comments on that?
I didn't unfortunately, sometimes property owners they'll provide us with the sales mailer. There was no sales mailer for it because it's an older sale, but just looking at the information we do have on the history, it was a market bona fide, arm's length sale. So.
And it's the current owner, is that correct?
You know what? I can double check. Just give me 2 seconds here. I just want to make sure here. Just want to verify. I apologize. Let's just check here. Here, so I'm just trying to. Okay, straight. Okay. Apologize. I'll be
9.4.
Okay, here we go. Case current.
I guess we could assume that if there's been no sale listed,
It was, yeah, sorry, I just heard, yeah, purchaser was 66 King Inc. in 2010, so that is
Okay.
correct, yes, yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Rack, so you've used a combination of two methodologies here, but is for the purposes of assessment, the income approach is used for valuing commercial properties. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would.
Okay, thank you. Regarding the Albert sale, was that an arm's length sale, and what was the condition of that property in 2019? Any information on that?
No, I didn't investigate the sale, so I can't really answer that question, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
I was gonna say, I actually do, I can speak to sale if you need some information regarding it. I actually was able to find some information regarding the sale, so.
No, that's okay.
Okay,
We're gonna be, yeah, we're okay. Thank you. My next question is, Mr. Rack, you stated that the department applies a 20% vacancy rate for chronic vacancies. Matthew, could you comment on the department's policy on that?
Yeah, again, we would look at the property, again, depending on the situation. You know, we you know, if it's an issue of vacancy over a number of years, we would look at it and potentially apply a chronic vacancy issue. You know, it's kind of a case-by-case basis. It really depends on the situation. So,
okay, so individual decisions.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Mr. Rack, you're saying there's alterations, demolition. Well, we'll call it alterations going on in the upper floors, the upper 5 floors. Any permits taken out for work? Any valuation there?
I didn't investigate any of that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so when you say demolition, do you mean that the property is currently for lease on those floors, and they would be negotiated whether the tenant or the owner would do the renovations for the leasee to move in? Is that what you're saying?
Typically, that's how it works. Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Any information on current asking lease prices?
No.
Okay. Okay, and your cap rate at 10% is the assessor's at 9.4, you're at 10%. Okay, so that's nearly the same. Okay. All right.
Assessor's actually at 9.8.
No, it's actually 9. It is actually 9.4.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and you're asking Mr. Rack for a revision to the assessment to $900,000. Just to clarify. Okay. All right. Okay. Any requirement for summary by either party?
Nope.
Matthew, you're good. Mr. Rack?
Yes.
You're good, Mr. Rack?
Yes, I'm good.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, that concludes 66 King Street. Does anybody require a 5-minute break? Would that be okay? So, Mr. Kumar, we're going to break for 5 minutes, please. We'll be back at 10:10.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Kumar. I'll now call the hearing back to order. Mr. Rack, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Matthew, you're back. All right. Next property on the docket is item number 6, file 22406. We're dealing with a 2023 Realty assessment, and the address is 1841 St. Matthews Avenue. Bill, Kent, you got the docket or the brief in front of you?
Yes.
Yes, thanks.
Perfect. Okay, Matthew, when you are ready, please, 1841 St. Matthews Avenue.
Matthew, you mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. Sorry, the roll number is 070-226-74000. The address is 1841 St. Matthews Avenue, and the owner is Grom and Wall Incorporated. The 2023 assessment based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $1,351,000. Some information about the property description. The effective year built of the property is 1958. The wall height is 14 feet. The land area is 30,800 square feet with a leasable area of 13,000 square feet and a land to plan area of 2.2. Page 2 of my brief just shows the income request for information has been received. Last time there was a sale was 2006. However, this wasn't the sale. We're not putting any cap. It's an older sale, so we're not putting any weight on that. And there are no subject property leases in place. Page 3 of my brief is just some my rent comparables. The comparables range in area of 10,010 square feet to 19,795 square feet. The wall heights range from 14 feet to 18 feet. The effective year built range from 1956 to 1969. And the rents range from $6.50 a square foot to $8.78 a square foot, with the lease terms ranging from 3 to 6 years. And the lease start dates you can see here from 2018 to 2020. So, and again, these comps are would be in similar areas of subject property: Erin, Notre Dame, Sargent, St. Matthews, and Border Street. So close to the subject property. Page 4 of my brief, I'll just show the income valuation. We are applying a model rent of $6.75 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent with the overall lease layer of 13,000 square feet at $87,750. We are applying a vacancy loss of 7%, which gives us the effective gross income of $81,607. We are allowing 3% for expenses and $3.85 a square foot for the shortfall, which gives us an overall net operating income of $75,655. And we are applying a model cap rate of 5.60%, which gives us an estimated market value of $1,351,000. Page 5 of my brief again just shows some information about the income valuation summary. Page 6 again is just some further information regarding the capitalization rates, which I've spoken to in the previous hearing or previous document. Page 7 of my brief is just some Municipal Assessment Act excerpt information. Page 8 of my brief is just some photos of the subject property. If you look at the above photo, you'll just see the front of the building at 1841 St. Matthews. And below that, you'll just see another angle of the subject property in relation to where it's positioned on the property. Page 9 of my brief is just a rear photo of the subject property. You'll see the parcel boundary. Below that, just showing again the boundary of the subject property as well as the current assessment at $1,351,000. Page 10 of my brief, you'll just see the top, just a subject property map, just to show where the property is in relation to St. Matthews and Marjorie's Street. And the bottom of page 10 through 11 through 12, or sorry, 11 through 14, you'll just see the income expense narrative that was provided by the property owner. And, again, page 13 and 14 will just include the actual expenses and actual rent in place for the subject property. And, that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Mr. Rack, any questions on the assessor evidence presented?
Yes. Just on page 6 on the cap rates. It's stated here that you're using, I guess, a model. You're using cap rates that are basically model generated rents that are applied to actual sales. Is that correct?
Yes, to derive our cap rates, we would use actual sales in the market. That's how we get our cap rates, correct?
Okay, so you're actually not using actual sale cap rates, correct?
Like, what do you mean, like using like an individual sale, like just using like a single sale to determine the cap rate, or what do you mean exactly? Like, or?
Yes, that's correct. You're not using individual.
Oh, no, it wouldn't be individual. So.
Yeah. Okay, and then you're using the Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman & Wakefield to support your cap rate, correct?
Those are the cap rates we are showing as an idea. Yes, yes.
Okay, so for industrial properties, the city has 5.55 to 7.45 for all industrial properties, correct?
That's correct.
And you're using, what is it, 5.6?
That's correct, yes.
So when you're looking at Colliers, CBRE, Cushman Wakefield, for their range of cap rates, none of those cap rates that they have from actual sales actually support your 5.6, correct?
Well, that's what they're showing there, things, yes. However, as I've said, the 20th to 80th percentile. So there are properties that fall within lower cap rates, but yes, I won't dispute that. Yes, there is. We would be slightly lower than the cap rates that they're showing. Yes.
Okay, that's all my questions, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Bill, any questions of the assessor's evidence?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Kent?
I have no questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. My only question, Matthew, is on page 9, the photo shots from above. Is there it looks like there's the second picture straight from top down. It shows the property line ends at the edge of the building. I'm not sure, maybe it's the angle of the photo.
It does, yeah, it does end at the edge of the building. That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
but it looks like there's a back lane that's shared by 2 buildings back to back that is spliced.
You're right, actually. It would be more the angle, because when I took the picture in the angle, you kind of, if you flip it, it's a bit further back. Yeah. So.
Okay, because there is like loading docks and doors at the back there, but okay.
Yep.
Yeah, it's usable area shared by the property behind them. Okay. And that is my only question. Okay, thank you. Mr. Rock, bear with us 1 second and we'll pull up your presentation, please. Okay, Bill, Kent, are you ready to go?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Rack, when you're ready, please. And let's just kind of go slow here where you're reading, okay? If you could kind of reference what page you're on, Mr. Rack, would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, again, I apologize. I will make this mistake again. Okay, so page 1 is basically, as assessor had pictures, that's picture frames and more. There's a tenant. Go down to it was built in 1958. We consider it an industrial class B building with the ceiling heights. So the next page shows the actual increase of 20% from 2022 to 2023, and the workup the assessors provided with a cap rate of 5.6%. In 2020, the cap rate was 6.4%. I'm actually surprised at how low the cap rates are, since 2021, April 1st was the height of pandemic, and from my information, not a lot of buildings have sold in that period of time. So let's go down to the cap rates from Cushman and Wakefield, which assessors supplied, CBRE. And then if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the Colliers cap rates. So I considered the building for its age and the ceiling heights to be a Class B building. So if you're looking at Class B buildings from actual sales from those 3 market reports, you're getting a range of 6.17 to 6.83%. I'm using the mean average of 6.5% average. So for 2020, the cap rate was 6.4%. The pandemic would have affected those cap rates for sales. So I'm going to apply the average of 6.5% as a cap rate. And so if you keep scrolling down, you will see that maintenance and management is included in the rent. So I'm actually using the actual rents of the building. So if you keep scrolling down, you'll see that due to the pandemic, the tenant got $44,220 in free rent. I did not remove that amount. I basically valued it as if it was fully occupied. So keep scrolling down, you'll see the valuation, full rent, no discount. So I'm actually using, the assessor's using $675 on 13,000 square feet. I'm using $650, the actual rent on 14,000 square feet. So you'll see with the workup of the rent at $98,000, property taxes, and the general recoveries, those are the 2 recoveries the owner received. So you're getting a total revenue of $129,589. You'll see that the maintenance is very minimal at $2,000, almost just under $3,000 insurance, property taxes, and management. So you're getting a net income of 91,006, which is higher than the assessors on 14,000 square feet. And I'm basically using the vacancy that the assessor's using, these expenses, 3%, the shortfall, and applying a 6.5% cap rate to get a value of $1,205,000. So that's my presentation, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Matthew, any questions on the applicants?
No, I don't have questions. I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Bill, any questions?
Page 6 again, on the numbers. You have a potential income of 91,006, but that is the total revenue minus these expenses which you listed out.
Correct.
Correct. Okay. But then you go to the chart down below and you got 91, use that figure 91,000, which is the net of the revenue minus the expenses. Subtract the vacancy. And then you also subtracted again expenses 3%.
Well, those 3% expenses is what the assessor and the department applies to all properties, because those are non-recoverable expenses at time of sale. That's a constant that every property gets. I'm doing the same thing the assessor does. I'm using the potential income. So that's total expenses that's incurred by the property. I'm using the income with the property tax recovery, the general recoveries. And then for assessment purposes, you're allowed a vacancy amount on every property, and you're allowed 3%, which is non-recoverable expenses from sale when you sell a property. And that shortfall is based on the vacancy, what it costs basically to operate vacant space. So it's the methodology that's used on all assessable properties.
Okay, but from your standpoint here, what would you say those expenses would be? Because you added them on to your other expenses. What would they be?
Well, those are non-recoverable fees that you pay when you sell a property. That's been generally, I mean, at one time, the assessment department used to deduct 2% for management and 3% for expenses. That's the same methodology that's been used for years on all properties when it comes to assessed value. If you see the assessor's workup, he does the same thing. He comes up with the potential income. And the potential income is the gross rent or the rent less expenses, and then he does apply a vacancy rate and expenses for non-recoverables. Those are fees and stuff you pay when you basically sell a property, and that's been generally received by all. So that's what those expenses are. I mean, those are land. I don't know exactly what they. I mean, we had meetings about this at with the department and the board. That's only $2,539. So those would be some expenses occurred when you basically sell a property that are non-recoverable. That's what that 3% is, and it's applied to every property in the city when they come up with assessed value.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. Thanks. That's all the questions I had.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Kent, any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Rack, just bear with me 1 second, please. My shared document has just kind of ghosted out on me here as part of your presentation, Mr. Rack, if you don't mind holding on 1 second.
Mr. Chair, I have a quick question of the applicant, if you don't mind.
Of course, go ahead.
So much while you're just looking at your documents there. If we go to page 5 of your presentation, On page 5 of your presentation, you mentioned that there was free rent of 44,220 due to the pandemic. So this was meant for the year of 2021. Is that correct?
That's from, if you, on that same page, you'll see the income statement for 12 months ending December 31st. And you'll see the revenue, it says base rent, $96,000. And then underneath that, you see free reduced rent for $44,220.
Okay, so that's already been taken into account in your total revenue account then, right?
I used the total revenue of $98,000 without the free rent. So I didn't include the free rent. It's total. I used the rent as if he didn't get any free rent. Because the base rent is $96,000, and that's what I use in my workup. I had no full rent discount in my workup.
Oh, I see. So you have it bracketed, but you haven't used it in your total calculations here.
Because if you look at my valuation, it starts off at $98,000, which is a full year's rent, with no reduction for the free rent. I just made that note that he did get $44,220 free rent, but that was just for 1 year, so that wouldn't influence the value of the property. I just made note of it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the clarification.
Thanks, Kent. Okay, Mr. Rack. I do have a comment, but I'll leave it till the end after my questions here. But what rent are you using for in your workup? I'm sorry. Is it 14,000 square feet at how much a square foot?
650.
Pardon me?
650.
650. Okay, thank you.
$6.50.
Right, thank you. Okay, and then you're using a cap rate of 6.5% based on evidence from the CBRE and those appraisal firms. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And the comment I'm going to make, Mr. Rack, in the future is we are not going to put any, we're not going to accept any evidence or put any weight, I should say, on evidence from previous cycles or previous board hearings. So I'm just commenting that your comparison to how much is increased and how much it's gone up from last cycle to this cycle, we're not going to put any weight in that in our decisions. It's evidence.
Duly noted.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and your final value is $1,205,000 that you're asking the assessment be revised to. That's correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. That is all my questions. Okay, and does either party have requirement for summary? Matthew, you're good?
No,
Mr. Rack? All
yeah,
good?
I'm good.
Thank you. Okay. That concludes 1841 St. Matthews Avenue. Next property on the docket is item number 7. And that is file number 22-1222, a 2023 Realty appeal at 895 King Edward Street. And I think there's an issue, a request for non-cooperation by the assessor. Is that correct, Matthew?
That's correct.
Okay. So bear with me 1 second here. I'm going to get to the document. Okay. 895 King Edward Street. And the assessor requesting that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation. Let's deal with that issue first. Matthew, when you're ready, please.
Mr. Chairman. So yes, obviously we are seeking non-compliance. I'll start with, if you actually turn to page 12 of my brief, you'll just see I'm just showing the blank mailer that we get sent out. This would be the certified mailer. We initially send a first mailer out. The first mailer was sent out on April 15th, 2021, which has a due date of May 6th, 2021. And then if we do not receive that, we actually send a certified mailer, which is a secondary letter, which was sent out June 9th, 2021, and has a due date of June 30th, 2021. So we had sent those both to the same address as I confirmed that the tax bill goes to the same address as the letters go to, which is at 895 King Edmund Street. And as I've shown on page 12, 13, 14, this is just showing the blank mail that we did send out. On page 15, the back of my brief, it just shows the Canada Post signature that was signed for the actual certified mailer that we sent out to the subject property, so that it was signed for. And I'd also like to note at the bottom of page 14 of my brief, just to show the history of the income expense mailer. The last time we received an income expense mailer from the subject property was 2011, so we have not received a mailer in quite a few years. I will note that this property is a owner-occupied property, but to be this department to be fair and equitable, we send mailers to all subject properties, regardless if they're owner-occupied or tenanted, because we use this information, such as the expenses, to derive our assessments and expenses and such. So, so this information is very vital to the assessment, how we derive our assessments. And again, as I said, we send it to all property owners, regardless if they're owner-occupied or tenanted. And majority of them, many people send us, or a lot of the owner-occupied properties will send us the expense information. So this is the reason why we're seeking non-compliance.
Okay. Thank you, Matthew. Mr. Rack, any response to this request for non-compliance?
No, I have no problem with it.
Okay. Okay. Well, okay. We shall recess quickly to discuss the presentations by both parties and come back with our decision shortly. If Mr. Rack and Mr. Kumar, can you disconnect Mr. Rack and Matthew temporarily? Thank you.
Yes. Okay, I'm going to add.
It was bad idea.
I got extended.
Yeah, they're pretty good here. These were some one of my things, and she says, I said, I have 20 minutes, we're going to wrap up.
We are lying still.
I'm starting to go to boil over this and starting to be smarter.
Yeah.
I keep checking my phone, and I'm distracted by doing that.
Okay, I'll now call the hearing back to order. The panel has considered the evidence presented by both parties regarding the request for burden of proof to be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation under section 53-3. of the MAA. And based on the evidence presented, Mr. Rack the agent has not disputed that request, and the assessor has provided proof that the notice was delivered. We're granting that request. So Mr. Rack, you are going to present first, and the burden of proof is on you, okay? So just bear with us 1 second so we can get to your document first. And we're dealing with 895 King Edward Street. Mr. Rack, when you're ready, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the first page of my brief, you'll see a picture of the outside of the building. There's an office portion in the front, which is actually used for retail. Then behind it is the warehouse with 14-foot and 16-foot ceilings there in a small place. There's one loading dock. So the property was purchased in 2010. This is the first appeal. Considered a Class B warehouse building for the age 1958 and for the ceiling heights. The city has applied a cap rate of 5.8%. So if you scroll down, you'll see Cushman & Wakefield, CBRE, and Colliers. And I won't go into assessors, so basically the average of those market sales of commercial properties has a range of 6 to 6.7 or 7.25 for Class B buildings. So the average is 6.5. So if I use the assessors, there's a line missing here, but if I use the assessors parameters at a 6.5 cap rate, you'd have a value of $1,538,000. I think more as indicative value is the actual, there's a comparable sale just down the street from the Johnson report, 725 Century. It is a large compound. It's a 1957 warehouse building with 3,000 square foot office. It's got a loading dock plus ground level. Total area is 23,429 square feet. And the sale price is $1,550,000. It's got a loading dock with the ceiling heights between 12 and 18 feet, similar to the subject property. And it sold May 15th, 2020 at $66.16 per square foot. And you can see two pictures of it. Quite similar to the subject property, just down the street. You can keep scrolling down. You'll see it's the same as a property, subject property, with a couple of different buildings that have been attached to it, multiple buildings. Again, it was sold at $66.16 per square foot. So if you applied that to the subject property would be $1,152,000. So I had an error there. There is a loading dock. I said there was no loading dock, but there is a loading dock. So basically applying the department's parameters, adjusting the cap rate to reflect market cap rates from Cushman, CBR, and Colliers. The department's net income was $99,987. So basically, I used their rent, their vacancy shortfall, and expenses, and I applied a high-end value for that building at 7.25%. So it comes out to $1,379,000. I feel the best indication of value is a comparable sale. In this case, the comparison is just down the street, same age, relatively the same size, same ratio of office to warehouse. It sold 11 months before the valuation date. With the pandemic in full swing, I think the best indication of value is a sale comparison. So I'm requesting the value be reduced to $1,155,000, and that's my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Matthew, any questions of the appellant's evidence? I think you're on mute, Matt.
Sorry about that. Yes, sorry, I just have a couple of quick questions. I'm just curious. So obviously overall, like you're using the, I guess, direct comparison approach, or that's what you're relying on the sale price for your evaluation at the $1,000,005.
Yes.
So is there any reason you're not, you don't believe the income approach would be better valuation of the subject property, or is there any reason why you're not putting any weight on the income approach then, or?
Well, I think that this particular case with the sale price of a property that's, you know, almost, you couldn't get a better, closer comparison to the actual subject property, in my opinion. And it was 11 months prior to the valuation date. So on the same street, basically the same type of building, office to a warehouse, the same height in the warehouse. I think it's a pretty good indication of value as the sale price.
Okay. And just another quick question is just like in terms of like the the cap rates, obviously, you know, I know you've like I mean, I'm not entirely sure. So like, what is there, do you know the difference between the A and the B's roughly, I guess, or I didn't really get a chance to look into the specifics of it, I guess, or in terms of what an A cap rate.
As far as the cap?
Yeah, the cap.
As far as the cap rate go? Well, we can see Cushman & Wakefield has an A at 5.5 to 6,
Okay.
and B 6 to 6.5. And then CBRE is A is 5.75 to 6.5, and B is 6.5 to 7.25.
Okay.
And then Colliers has a at 6 to 6.75 and a B at 6 to 6.75. So their A and B for Colliers is exactly the same.
Okay. And I guess I was just curious, I know you're for the income approach where you have shown it, you use a 7.25% cap. Is there any reason you didn't take into account like the 6.5 or 6.75 from Cushman & Wakefield or Colliers at the bottom? Because I know they're all considered Bs. I mean, or nothing.
Could you say that again? You kind of broke up in between your sentences.
Oh, sorry. No, I was just saying because like I know just for your income evaluation, you're using 7.25% cap. I was just curious. So like under the high cap rates for Cushman & Wakefield and Colliers, they're at 6.5 and 6.75 respectively. I guess you know, didn't put any weight on those, I guess, or you felt 7.25 was more appropriate, I guess, or.
Sorry, I can't answer. You were breaking up on me.
Okay.
What can I say? Based on the sale price, I just basically, because the sale price is at $1,155,000, I applied the highest end cap rate of 7.25 to just see what that value would come out to.
Okay. Okay, that's actually all my questions then. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Bill, any questions of the appellant's evidence?
Nope, no questions.
Thank you. Kent, any questions?
No questions at this time, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rack, just quickly, so you presented two methods of valuation here. I'm just going to confirm the first one on page 6, I guess. You accepted the assessment department's NOI, but applied a cap rate of 7.25 to come up with $1,379,000. The second one, you did a direct comparison approach with one sale, and based on that sale, you're asking for $1,155,000. That's your final estimate of value. Is that correct?
Yes, I just used one sale because it was so close to the subject property and
Okay.
so similar to the subject.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, that's my only question. So Matthew, we're back to you. Just bear with us 1 second while I pull up your document here for 885 King Edward Street. There we go. Okay, Matthew, when you are ready, please. 895, I'm sorry, 895 King Edward Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Your roll number is 0700191700. The address is 895 King Edward Street, and the owner is 72399 Manitoba Limited. 2022 assessment based on the reference date of April 1st, 2021 is $1,724,000. Just some property description information about the property subject. The effective year built is 1961. The wall heights range from 11 feet to 20 feet. The 11 feet would be for the office space, 20 feet for the warehouse space. The land area is 39,731 square feet. The leasable area is 17,424 square feet, and we have a land to plant area of 2.28. Page 2 of my brief, they'll just, obviously we've already discussed the non-compliance issue, so obviously we didn't receive the mailers, which we are aware of. The last time the property sold was in 2010, so you can kind of see the sale. You can see the sale price of when it sold it in 2010. And there are no subject property leases in place. Page 3 of my brief is just my rent comparables. They range in area of 15,000 to 21,000 square feet. Wall heights range from 16 to 18 feet. The effective year builds range from 1959 to 1969. And the rents range from $6.95 a square foot to $8.78 a square foot. And the lease terms range from 3 to 7 years. And the comparable properties would be within close to subject property. Page 4 of my brief, you'll see the income valuation summary. We are applying a model rent of $6.66 a square foot, which gives us a potential rent of at the leasable area 17,424 square feet, gives us a potential rent of $116,044. We're allowing 7% for vacancy, which gives us the effective gross income of $107,921. We're applying a 3% for expenses and $3.85 a square foot for shortfall, which gives us an overall net operating income of $99,987. And we are applying a capitalization rate of 5.8%, which gives us an estimated market value of $1,724,000. Page 5 of my brief, you'll just see the income valuation summary. Page 6 is just more information regarding cap rates. So we are at 5.8%. So again, as I was mentioning before, the cap rates, majority of the cap rates within the 28th percentile that we see with the city of Winnipeg for the cap rates we derive for our model range within 5.55% to 7.45%. So the cap rate, the 5.8 does still, fall within the range of CRBE at 5.75. So page 7 I brief is just some municipal assessment act excerpt information, which we've already spoken with. Page 8 of my brief just shows some photos of the subject property, just to show where it's in relation to King Edward Street. It's the front of the building you'll see here where the warehouse space is and the little office space in the front of the building there. On the at the bottom of page 8, you'll just see another view just to show where the loading bay is in the subject property. Page 9 of my brief, again, you'll just see a rear photo of the subject property. And page 10, again, you'll just see another angle of the subject property in relation to the parcel of land and the parcel boundary itself and the current assessed value. Page 11 is just a subject property map of where it's the overall shape or the look of the building and subject property. And pages 12 through 15 we've already dealt with as those were the non-compliance issues. So that's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Mr. Rack, any questions on the assessor's presentation?
Just would be the same questions on page 6 as the capitalization rates, which we've already discussed that the departments are actually they're marked, they're computer market rents applied to sale prices, which we discussed, and the fact that Colliers, CBRE, and Cushman & Wakefield's reports don't support the cap rate the assessor's applying, and that we've talked about that. So that was the only questions I would have. I'll just make that comment, and that's all, Mr. Chairman.
And Matthew, maybe to answer the question, would you like to answer that question?
I mean, no, I think, like I said, we've spoken with it in the previous,
Okay.
It's the same
All
time.
right.
So.
Okay, thank you. That's all, Mr. Rack. Okay. Any questions of the assessor?
For me, no.
Thank you. Bill, any questions?
No.
Okay, thank you. Matthew, my couple of questions here. So this property is owner occupied, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so there's no leases in place and no declaration or income and expense statements submitted this time. Okay. And your cap rate is 5.8%. And if we look at your, and the building is, how old is this building? It's 19.
The effective year built would have been 1961 because the different parts of the building were built at different times. So we use an overall effective year built, which would be 1961. So.
Okay, and then you're showing an effective age of 1967. Is that right?
Well, the building was built, like their parts were built in 1958 and 1967. But if we take an overall effective year built of the entire building, it would be 1961. I didn't write that on the brief. I just kind of wrote it on mine. So.
Okay, perfect. 1961. Okay. And your table, sorry, here we are, page 6, showing 20 to 80th percentile. Would this be industrial B? Is that correct?
It's really hard to determine. Like, I guess we don't really classify it as a specific building. We just kind of show a range of buildings. And when you really want to classify any of the others, really I don't have a definition for the difference, to be honest with you. So
okay, fair enough. Okay. That's all my questions. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead, Bill. Or Kent. Sorry, Kent.
Matthew, when was the last time this building was inspected?
It is, to be honest with you, like when I was looking in the notes, I don't believe it's inspected in some time. So, or I wasn't able to find any records of when the last time it was. So.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Okay, I think that concludes the questioning. So any requirement for summary, Matthew?
No, I think that's good. Thank you.
Mr. Rack?
No summary.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that concludes item number 7895 King Edward Street. And the last property on the docket is item number 8, and that would be file 22-412. We're dealing with a 2023 Realty assessment, and there's no outstanding preliminary issues here. So 1300 St. James Street. Please just bear with me for a second here, Matthew, and I'm going to get organized. We'll get to your presentation and Mr. Rax shortly.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I submitted a rebuttal brief about a week ago for that property. I was just wondering if you have it, and I requested that the board send a copy to Matthew.
Yes, I have a copy.
Because I didn't have a. Oh, you have a copy?
I do have a copy. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we're gonna deal with. We're gonna allow Mr. Matthew to just bear with me one second here.
No problem.
1300 St. James Street, and so we're going to allow Matthew to make his presentation. Then we're going to accept the rebuttal from Mr. Rack and Mr. Kumar. Do we have a copy of that rebuttal available to us?
Yes, Mr. Chair, it's in the folder already.
Okay, and that would be, I'm just going to try and, oh yeah, I've got it, rebuttal. Does everybody have it? Is it available there for you? The last document, I think, on the shared drive?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so let's see here. Matthew, when you are ready, let's proceed with 1300 St. James Street.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The roll number is 0700-154-5000. The address is 1300 St. James Street, and the owner is 757-1349 Manitoba Limited. The 2023 assessment, based on a reference date of April 1st, 2021, is assessed at $2,937,000. Just some property description information about the subject. The effective year built is 1973. Wall heights are 29 feet. The land area is 53,491 square feet. And the leasable area is 43,189 square feet, which gives us a land to plant area of 1.24. Page 2 of my brief just shows that the request for income information has been received. And below that, you'll see the subject sale history. The last time the subject property sold was in August 8th, 2017 for $1,750,000. And there are no subject property leases in place. Page 3 of my brief, you'll just see some of my land sale comparables, or sorry, rent comparables. My comparables range in size of 31,022 square feet to 53,709 square feet. The wall heights range from 14 feet to 26 feet. The effective years built range from 1961 to 1974. And the rents range from $5.75 a square foot to $6.95 a square foot. And the lease terms range from anywhere from 4 to 10 years. And these comparables would be within close proximity to the subject property. Page 4 of my brief, you'll see the income valuation workup. We are applying a model rent of $5.35 a square foot. Multiplied by the leasable area of 43,189 square feet gives us a potential rent of $231,061. We're allowing 7% for vacancy, which gives us an effective gross income of $214,887. We're allowing 3% for expenses, and again, the $3.85 square foot for the shortfall, which gives us an overall net operating income of $196,801. We are applying a capitalization rate of 6.70%, which gives us an overall estimated value of $2,937,000. Page 5 of my brief is just another income valuation summary of the subject. Page 6 of my brief, again, just the capitalization rates. Again, the 6.7 or our 6.7 cap falls within the range, posted by within our 20th to 8th percentile the city is showing, as well as it falls within the range of Colliers, CRBE, and Cushman and Wakefield. So I believe cap is supported by what the market's shown as well. Page 7 of brief is just the municipal assessment act reserve information. Page 8 of our brief is just a couple of photos of the subject property and the parcel outline of it. So at the top, you'll just see just various photos of the subject property and where its relation to on St. James Street. Page 9 of my brief just shows another angle of the subject property and the loading bays you'll see at the front. Page 10 of my brief is just a floor plan of the subject property, just to kind of show the overall floor plan of the building. Page 11 is just the parcel boundary and the current assessed value of $2,937,000. And page 12 is just a subject property map, just to show where the property is in relation to on St. James Street. Page 13 of my brief just shows the mailer. This property is owner occupied, so there's no rents or leases in place. And again, just to show that they are compliant. That is my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Matthew. Mr. Rack, any questions of the assessor's evidence presented?
Just one on page 11. There's a parcel boundary, a picture of the property from the air.
For 1 second. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Would you agree that the land to building ratio of 1.24 in the area that you can see where the actual cars are parked is extremely small for a warehouse?
I want to dispute that it's a lower land to plan ratio. Yes. So.
That's all my questions.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Kent, any questions of the assessor?
No questions at this time, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Bill, any questions?
I have no questions.
Thank you. Matthew, the location of this building, is this right across from Costco?
It would be very close in relation to Costco, yes. So.
Okay. Across the street on the west side, I guess?
Yes, I believe that'd be correct, yes.
And yet it's addressed on King or, St. James, sorry.
St. James, yeah.
Yeah, wrong one. And is this a retail store or?
It's no, I believe it's more like a warehouse space.
Warehouse, okay. Rated as a warehouse and it is a warehouse.
We have assessed as a warehouse, yes.
Okay, and regarding Mr. Rack's question about the size, so we've got, I'm looking on page 9, page 8, I guess would be good too. So we've got a loading dock and then we have some parking spaces, or maybe 2 loading docks, parking spaces on the side of the building or the end of the building, let's call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, the end, yeah. There's 3 loading bay docks at the front there, and then there's the parking at the further.
Okay, all right. That's my only questions. Thank you. Mr. Rack, you've asked your questions now. Shall we go to your rebuttal evidence? Bear with us 1 second while we get to that. Matthew, have you had time to review this, seen this?
Yes, I've looked at the rebuttal evidence, yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Mr. Rack, please, your rebuttal evidence.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So let's go just to the first page, and you'll see there's a picture of the property on the side view there. It's got 3 loading docks, and you can see that there's a sign there, and that's Capital Real Estate. Basically, They were the first ones to basically try to sell the building. So if you look on the bottom, we looked at the picture with the dashed lines. We looked at the picture from the assessor's brief, which is showing the same thing. So as you can see, there's very little space for a semi-trailer to actually pull in there. And he has to go into the neighboring building, in front of the neighboring building, to actually pull in there. So it's very functionally, the building itself, the parking is functionally obsolete. There's 3 loading docks. So what happens is one loading dock, the outside is used for a trailer, and the middle one's used for a trailer. So from the owner, what he's told me is that one is used for unloading a trailer, one is used for loading a trailer, because he basically sells mattresses and appliances to smaller furniture companies throughout Manitoba. So there's always a trailer going out to be delivered to Portage la Prairie or to Brandon or up north or somewhere. So he can only unload one at a time and load one at a time. And the third one is used for his delivery truck. He's got a furniture store in Ellis. And basically one has to be open all the time, because at a store in Ellis, he has no product. Basically come here to load the product to deliver it.
Okay.
So with that small area, there's no, you can't store any more than 2 trailers there, one going out, one coming in. When typically a warehouse would have a large area to store other trailers to move in and out of those spots.
Okay.
And this building basically doesn't have any office space. So if you go down and you'll see the picture there, JS Furniture Gallery, that would be the truck they use to deliver furniture. So it's basically, it's tough. Sometimes the semi has to block off traffic on St. James to back it in there, depending on what's in the neighbor parking lot. So the property owner, because of this, had to buy a single axle semi with a small cab to move trailers in and out of the property. So he basically moves the trailers himself from wherever they're stored when they come into the city.
Okay.
So that makes that property functionally obsolete. So as a warehouse. So if you look at the assessors comparables, comparable one at 17 or 1175.
Now, where are we reading from now, Mr. Rack?
Just keep going down. Keep scrolling down. You can see the picture of the JS furniture truck. At the very top of the rebuttal brief, there's basically a picture of the building, there's a aerial picture, and then there's a picture of the furniture truck.
Okay.
So if you just scroll down a little bit more, you'll come to the assessors comparisons, comparison 1.
For the rebuttal.
Okay.
So the comparison 1 is 1175 Sherwood Road.
Yes.
It's a superior building, 50,282 square feet. As you can see, if you keep going down, by measuring on Google Maps, I'm estimating the front 2-story office to be basically 6,070 square feet. As you'll see, there's a showroom, Macmore Industries. We keep scrolling down, they obviously sell shovels and equipment, harnesses. Keep scrolling down, you'll see an aerial picture. So there's a lot of parking in the front of the building for people to come into the showroom and purchase. There's multiple loading docks in the front, and you'll see that there's a sufficient amount of paved area in front of the building for semi-trailers to pull in and out, full-length semi-trailers to drop off their trailers for loading and unloading. So there's ample space. If you keep going down, you'll see there's ample space. There's 4 loading docks, and then there's a small little tiny loading dock on the right. So I would say that the building was superior to the subject with a showroom and 2-story office would demand greater rent.
Okay.
I'd say that it's not, and I'd say with the parking that it's not comparable to the subject.
Okay,
Subject property's problem is basically the parking. So if we keep going down, you'll see comparable number 2, 925 Q8 Street. I believe that's a Superior building. It's 31,376 square feet. It has 3 loading docks that are easily accessible. You can see the amount of parking in the front is huge. And there's a showroom on the left. And there's basically parts, retail, and service on the right.
okay,
You'll see so you see the picture below. You can see how much paved area is in there. I mean, there's ample space for a semi-trailer to come in and back up to those loading docks.
okay. So we've got
And
yeah, we understand that that's superior in the items you've described. Okay, please proceed, please.
And so I'd say that one's not comparable subject. So we're going to go to comparable number 3, Como 3, at 1720 Dublin. That's the UPS Customer Center. And it's a Superior building. Office is approximately 2,500 square feet. Building is 52,094 square feet. We got semi-trailers can actually be parked inside the building. It's hard to see in the middle picture, but there's actually a trailer inside the building.
Okay,
There's a lot of lights going. There's a lot of lights going around the building, windows to let in natural light, and you can see the amount of parking it has. It's got a huge area for parking. So I'm saying this property is not comparable to the subject because of those reasons.
all right,
So now we come to comparable 4, 2030 A Notre Dame Avenue. It's 53,709 square feet. It's got a 2-story office in the front. And again, by Google Maps, I measured that, and I'm looking at 33,522 square feet per floor. There's 2 floors, so you're looking at an office space of about 6,510 square feet, and there is a showroom in the front.
all right,
And you can see the aerial picture is that basically there's an awful lot of parking. There's a huge parking lot for semi-trailers, et cetera, to move around to park and leave trailers. So that I would say is this comparable is not comparable to the subject. So if
okay,
you keep going down, you'll see there's a business. There's basically 4 premises here. So I just showed the business assessment to show you that A is basically 53,080 square feet, which would be the assessor's comparable. There's 2 others. You go down. Number B is basically 31,000.
okay, Mr. Rack. Mr. Rack, is this, okay, you've gone through the 4 comps that the assessor presented, you rebutted those, now you're presenting new evidence, is that what, am I understanding this right?
No, that's not new evidence. I got the business assessment roll numbers there in the areas because there's
No,
4
no, my question is it in rebuttal to what the assessor presented? These, where you're going right now?
Yes, these are all the assessor's comparables.
Well, okay, I thought you've gone through 4 of them. Okay, so we're still doing the comparables? Just
That's
the
correct. I'm just showing the business assessment rolls because there's 4 premise IDs, or in other words, there's 4 people in that building, 4 different tenants.
Okay.
And the business assessment roll numbers just proves that the one that I'm showing in the picture is actually the assessor comparable.
Okay, thank you. All right, we understand that.
So the last comparable is number 5, which is 895 Century Street. So if you keep scrolling down, you'll see the last one. And that's Bill Knight Flooring. That's a retail store. I've been in there many times. So there's got a large paved parking lot for the customers. And basically, it's all retail. I came up with an estimate from Google Maps that there's probably about 8,000 square feet of retail in there.
Okay.
It's huge.
So all, in your opinion, so in summary, in your opinion, all 5 or 6 comps that you presented here rebutting the assessor's evidence are superior. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Matthew, any questions on the rebuttal?
No, I reviewed it, and like I said, I've looked at the comps, and so I had no questions. So
thank you. Bill, any questions on the rebuttal presented?
Yes, so would it be fair to say the common theme in your rebuttal is that there is more space outside of these comparables Would that be correct assessment? For parking and move of vehicles.
Not only that, but some of these comparables have large areas of office. Like basically Sherwood Road probably has 6,000
Okay.
square feet of office.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Bill Knight Flooring is actually retail.
Yeah, Mr. Rack, we've got the details. Thank you. Bill, any other questions?
No, no other question.
Thank you. Kent, any questions of the appellant's rebuttal brief?
No questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, and I have no questions either. Okay. So, Mr. Rack, it is your turn to present. Just bear with us 1 second here on your presentation, please. Okay. Mr. Rack, when you're ready, please.
Okay, page 1, as I stated before, you'll see on the left top picture, there's a for sale sign, and that's from Capital Real Estate. That was the first company that tried to sell this building back in 2017. I talked about the second picture, about the building being functionally obsolete. If you keep scrolling down, you'll see Commercial Real Estate Spring 2014. That says price reduced. That was from Graham T. Roswell. That's the second company that attempted to sell that building. It was unsuccessful. If you keep scrolling down to the pictures of the interior of the building, that was Avis Young. They were the third and final company to try to sell this building. And basically, it was offered for sale for $2,495,000. And
Okay.
since there was parking, it was advertised that the idea would be to demolish 10,000 square feet of the building to have parking. And then you'd need additional capital to be invested to renovate the building to make it viable. But no one was interested in that idea. And you can see the artist's conception of what that building might look like.
Okay.
So when the owner purchased the property, there was a lot of repairs required. As you can see, you keep scrolling down, you'll see Building Envelope Ltd. It needed roof work. If you keep scrolling down, it's from Norwood Roofing Ltd. They had a budget came to about $590,000 for the roof because it was leaking. When I was in there, there's actually pools of water on the floor.
Okay.
So if you keep scrolling down, you'll see Red Seal Roofing, 42601 Bowman. They had an estimate anywhere from $342,000 to $380,000
Okay.
for roof repairs. And so if you keep scrolling down, there's a certification of appraiser. So the appraiser at the time when it was sold basically had it for assessed at $1,749,000. It was purchased for $1,750,000.
All
If
right.
you keep scrolling down, to 2017, it's the Assessment Department and Taxation Property Sale Questionnaire.
All right.
And you'll see, and if you go right down to the bottom where it says property characteristics, there was actually, most of the heaters were burnt out. So when it's asked the question, what do you intend to do? Major repairs and improvements. The owner said it needed heaters, roof, lighting.
Okay.
And he basically said that it was worth about $750,000 and he would fix it when he could afford it to fix the deficiency. So keep scrolling down. And if you
Yes.
scroll down to the board revision order.
Yeah, we're not going to put any weight to that previous order.
Okay, that's fine. So keep scrolling down and you'll see the assessment department's valuation. So in 2023, the department increased the value by 68%.
Again, we're not going to compare assessments, okay?
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so keep scrolling down to CBRE quarter one, the cap rates. So just trying to come up with a value. If you use the highest cap rate, you'd have to use the highest cap rate due to the fact that the building is functionally obsolete. So just using the assessor's rent at $535 and a 7.25% cap rate, the building would be worth $2,714,000, which is still extremely high. So basically, the cap rate is correct at 7.25% for the deficiencies of the building and the fact that it has no parking. And the question is, what would the rent be? So I looked around and I got basically the lowest rent at the time. And there's not a lot of stuff for comparable rents because there are no comparable rents for this property. I mean, every industrial property warehouse, a storage warehouse, a distribution warehouse actually has a lot of parking and has multiple loading docks. I mean, otherwise it won't survive. It's the subject property's problems. So 1309 Mountain Avenue is renting for $475 a square feet. You can see it has office area. It has an awful lot of parking and loading docks. So it's superior to the subject building. And if you keep going down, as I stated, there are no basic comparables for a property like this because of the parking. So I did adjust, and there's an error. I did not adjust the vacancy. I adjusted the cap rate due to the building being functionally obsolete, and rent comparison above as a superior building, exterior, higher ceilings, and basically a lot of parking. So I'm using that rent at $4.75 a square foot.
So are we, sorry, Mr. Rack, I'm trying to find your workup here. We're just below the listing at 1309 Mountain Avenue. Is that your workup you're using to come up with your revised value?
That's right, just below the pictures.
All right.
So I'm using the comparable above at $4.75 a square foot, using the city's parameters for vacancy loss, expenses, and shortfall, and applying the cap rate at 7.25% to represent the fact that the property is functionally obsolete. The repairs that still haven't been made to the building. So I'm getting a value of $2,392,000. And when the building was purchased, it was purchased from the asking price less the cost to repair all deficiencies. So I've taken the deficiencies, which is the Norwood roofing estimate, the Red Seal roofing estimate, and getting an average of $475,000. And that doesn't include the lighting or the repair of the heaters. When I was there, 3/4 of the heaters on the ceiling were not working. So I didn't even include the estimates for that. I'm just using the roof. So the average is $475,000. So I'm removing that value from the $2,392,000, which any purchaser would do. You'd have to take in those deficiencies, coming up to a value of $1,933,000. So just to summarize, the land area is too small to turn around deterred semis. Backing and docks is a problem. Very enough space for employees. And as you saw from the only way they tried to sell it was demolishing part of the building, which is not going to happen. So with no parking and the semi-trailer problems and the deficiencies of the building, I'm asking the building to be reduced to $1,933,000, and obviously the $1 million to bought property increase. The property would not increase by $1,187,000 in 3 years. So obviously that part you're not going to take into account. So I'm looking for $1,933,000. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Rack. Matthew, any questions of the applicant?
Just a couple of quick questions. So I know there's obviously some of the issues with repair work that needs to be done. For example, like I know like the roof, have they done any repairs to the building at all? Like anything with the roof, or is it still, have they done any repairs, or is it still in bad damn shape, or what's the current status? Or
they've done no repairs at the time. The owner doesn't have the funds because he's out of furniture business, and basically due to the pandemic, all businesses like that were hit extremely hard during the pandemic, and he had no capital to basically do anything.
Okay, no problem. My second question is like, again, I know you're showing your net rent of 475, which is the comparison of 1309 Mountain. Can you give me information about this lease? Because I tried searching this online, I could not find anything. Do you know when this lease began, or how much space it's being rented out for, the tenants or anything like that? Do you have any information regarding that lease at all, or?
Basically, it was the building that came out. This building came actually out of the Johnson report, and
So-
basically, I can't remember exactly how many square feet, but there's multiple tenants in there, and so there was large square footages that were available. It's a multi-tenant building. I should have put more pictures on it, but the building goes on forever to the left.
So this isn't like a lease or anything. This is just like the actual sale price per square foot you're using it or something, or?
I'm using the 475, which is the asking rent of 1309 Mountain Avenue.
Okay, so that's asking, but but that's not. I guess that's not in place that you know of. That's just the asking. So okay.
Yes, asking rent and what is negotiated. It might have been negotiated. Someone rented. It could have been negotiated for less, but that's the asking price of 475. They're definitely not going to pay more than the asking rent.
Okay, but again, we don't. That's not in place yet that we know of. Okay, all right. Okay, no, that's fine. That's all the questions I have. So.
Thank you, Matthew. Bill, any questions of the appellant?
Yeah, can you clarify or restate what you mean by functionally obsolete?
Yes, a property is functionally obsolete when it no longer meets the requirements of what it's being used for. So in other words, the subject property, maybe years ago, the building next door, which is like a strip mall, wasn't there and it didn't exist. The building doesn't, as a warehouse, it doesn't have the space required to actually maneuver trailer trucks and to park them. Typically, as the comparables that I showed from the assessor, all those warehouses have huge parking areas or paved areas. Excuse me, I need a drink of water. Those areas are used to turn the semis around and back them up and to store semis on the lot so that when one is emptied or one is full, you can use a small truck to basically pull it out of the way and put another one there. The situation with this building is because it's right on St. James from the owners that he had to buy a small little single axle semi to pull trailers in, and he has to basically take out one lane of St. James, and you know how busy St. James is. And he has to cut across the lane, go into the property, and then drive in front of the neighboring strip mall. So if there's people parked there, he can't even pull it in. Or if people are moving out, he has to wait for them to come out of the strip mall so he can actually pull the semi in and back it up. So that makes it functionally obsolete. There's no space to store stuff. And if you look at the pictures on page 1, if the neighbor next door ever put a fence up on the side of his property, on that property line, I don't know what the property owner would do. If there's ever a dispute and the guy next door decided, okay, I'm going to put a fence up there, and you couldn't even park employee cars down the side. So it's a functional obsolete to run as a warehouse because there's no space to park semis. And he actually, because he loads one and unloads one, he has to constantly be pulling trailers out and taking to where they're basically brought to, and bring another one in to basically use it, to fill it up or empty it. So it's a pain for him to do it. So that makes it functionally obsolete. And as you saw in my brief, is that Avis and Young tried to address that fact. They addressed that fact by coming up with an idea to basically demolish 10,000 square feet of the building so they can make a parking lot. That is the problem. There's no space for a warehouse. The owner bought it because that's all he could afford. Couldn't afford anything else. So he kind of made a leap of faith that maybe he could use it. So it's a pain for him to use it, but that's all he could afford. It's the fact that there isn't space to store trailers and the way you get in and get out of St. James. That's why nobody wanted to buy the property. I don't know why he bought it in the first place, to be honest.
Any other questions, Bill?
Yeah, so that cap rate that you're asking for is 7.25%. So that would reflect what's your, what the case that you're making about the lack of space outside of the warehouse? So you want it higher? That be correct?
That's correct. Due to the that the property is functionally obsolete for its use.
Okay. But you also want the income down based on your comparison with Mountain Avenue?
That's correct, because Mountain Avenue is superior to the subject property, that it has the parking. It has the extra loading dock. So at 475 for this property, I think it's still high at the point, but that's the only comparable, which it's not even comparable, but that's the lowest I could get as far as what a functioning warehouse would lease for.
Anything else, Bill?
No, nothing else.
Thank you. Kent, any questions?
Yes, I have a question of the applicant. What was the building used before it became a warehouse? Before the current person purchased this, what was the building used for?
I'm trying to remember. It was used as a warehouse. I can't remember. For some reason, I have something in my mind that stored tires in it or something. I can't be sure, but it was used at a warehouse, and basically the owner that had it went bankrupt and tried to sell it since 2014, but nobody was willing to pay the price. The story goes from the owner that when he was selling it, previous owner, when he's selling it, he was asking so much for the property, and it was obviously it wasn't worth that amount of money, because in order to maintain, I mean, this is hearsay, in order to maintain his business.
Okay, Mr. Rack, I think you've answered the question. Thank you. Anything else, Kent?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rack, my question is there a current showroom in this building?
No.
It's just for storage for his retail or wholesale retail business, is that right?
That's correct. If you look at the assessor's diagram, you'll see upstairs it's only there's only 300 some odd square feet that he called a showroom, and I think total space is about 530 square feet upstairs. There's no showroom in there.
Well, if he calls it a showroom, then is it showing furniture samples or?
No, there's nothing in there. I'm saying that's what the assessor called it. There's
okay. I'm sorry. Okay.
That the assessor drew.
All right. And now you're saying there's problems with the roof, and yet it's storing furniture. Can you explain to me how you could store furniture in a wet warehouse for resale?
There's no furniture being stored in there. What it is appliances.
Okay, appliances. Okay. How can you explain if the roof is leaking, how you can store or how he stores items to be sold?
Well, they're all wrapped up in bags. It's not like the roof's leaking, like it's raining inside there. There are certain spots in the building down the aisleways and stuff where the water does leak out of the roof and puddle a bit. But I mean, the roof is, there's a few spots that are leaking, but the bottom point is that the roof has no insulation in it whatsoever, and it's reached its age. I mean, it's original, and it's just time it has to be replaced. The envelope has to be replaced, or there's going to be problems going down the line. I mean, everything is in boxes and wrapped up, but it's not like it's flooding inside. The roof just needs to be replaced. It's that time.
Those estimates are well, okay. So is it just areas that should be replaced, or is it the whole roof?
Those are estimates for the whole roof.
Okay. But yet it's functioning as a warehouse for holding items to be sold. Is that right?
That's right. Or sold or distributed.
Okay, distributed. Right. Okay. And since the purchase of the property, he has done some repairs from what were originally estimated at the time of sale. Would that be fair to say?
I understand that there haven't been any major repairs done to the property. He just hasn't had money. He basically.
But he's done some
owned the
repairs.
property.
There was listed over $1 million in repairs, wasn't it? Yeah, if I remember. Anyway, okay. Thanks. That answers my question.
There's basically, he estimated the repairs were $750,000.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Thank you. That answers my question. Okay. Matthew, any requirement for summary?
No, I think that's good.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Rack?
No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Rack. That concludes 1300 St. James Street. You'll hear from us as soon as possible on our decision based on the evidence presented here today. Thank you, Mr. Rack. And Matthew, we have heard all the items scheduled on this hearing, and the hearing is now adjourned. Thank you to everybody.
Match. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm just coming back, Mr.